Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure that you like, make sure you subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Shout out to The Athletic. Got an opportunity this weekend to meet up with a lot of the writers that I roll in the same circles with in the athletic fantasy world, some sports betting, which was really awesome to be able to finally put faces with email addresses and faces with names and bylines. And a lot of really cool, a lot of awesome guys. Shout out to Andrew DeWitt. Shout out to Mike Salfino. Just trying to think of names off the top of my head, which I'm really always awful at. Nando, all of the guys, you know who you are. It really is nice to get an opportunity to like break bread with you guys and talk about the state of what we do and how we do it and really Nando being a guy who brought me in, who I met through another good friend of mine, Emery Hunt, who was great this weekend as my host. And I say this weekend, it really wasn't even a weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, I was in New York City for all of like 30 hours. I got in on a Friday afternoon. I left on a Sunday evening. My flight came in at 4. It ended up leaving at like 9 something because it was delayed, but that's a whole nother story. But it was nice to sit down and Nando has always been really good about getting people together. So I really do appreciate him. I appreciate Brandon Funston, DeWitt, like I said, and then everybody, all of the people that I met, the countless amounts of people that I met. It was really a fantastic evening. Shout out to Lawrence Jackson. I had an opportunity to meet Lawrence Jackson in person. That was fantastic as well. As I go through this morning, ladies and gentlemen, trust me, I'm going to say some names. I'm just going to blurt out names because, that's what we do, right? Like, it was really interesting though, right? I was thinking about this as we sat and talked about everything. As we sat and talked about everything. It's amazing to me how much being in front of someone really matters, right? It's amazing to me how much being in front of somebody matters. We have a saying, and shout out to Corey Parson. Had a chance to meet Corey Parson, another awesome dude, man. It's a lot of awesome dudes rolling up there in the Northeast, and I'll say this: Black people play fantasy. Black people know fantasy, and Black people are winning fantasy. But I digress. There's a lot of things with the virtual that I love, like meetings. There's certain meetings that are procedural. And because they're procedural, they don't really bring a lot of value being in person. I love the fact that a lot of the procedural meetings have gone to being virtual. Jump on your Zoom, everybody say what they have to say. Cool. There are times where you just need a one-on-one, like, you got to explain some stuff. Virtual is great. You get a chance to talk to people, exchange ideas, share spreadsheets, blah, blah, blah. Great. But there are other times where being in person matters. We have this saying, and the saying is, hey, yo, say it to my face. And the reason that the saying is what it is, a lot of times we think it's a confrontational, it's aggressive. Say it to my face. But what it really does is convince me, right? Say it to my face really means convince me that what you're saying over there, I would still believe if you were standing right here. Say it to my face. Make me believe it. Make me buy in. Now, again, it's been reduced to its lowest common denominator, which is an aggressive retort to what somebody says to you. But when we think about how it could be used positively, this is the value of being in person. This is the value. This is the value of being face to face. To be able to put a face with the name for my boy DeWitt. To put a face with the name for Nando. To put a face with the name for Funston. People that I'm charged as my editors, who I send stuff to, and they say, okay, thank you, right? Or they might send some stuff back like, hey, explain to me this or talk to me about that. And I can't fully articulate it, or I can't I can't fully give them the meaning of it because it doesn't play the same in our conversation, right? But in person, they can see how I feel about it. They can feel passion. They can feel dedication. They can understand more about my story, more than they get in the email. Because how many of us are out here just word vomiting our lives on email? But if you get to a bar with a couple drinks, not hammered, but just a couple drinks, a get together, a relaxing atmosphere where you can just start talking, right? We get an opportunity to then just understand where someone's coming from, understand how they move, understand how they might register things, how they may be thinking. I can look at your facial expressions, your responses to what I'm saying. That gives me the opportunity to know where we are. It's a great thing. It's a great thing. We're losing so much of that with the screen. The 2D resolution is losing a lot of the ability to get the deal done. The 2D resolution is losing a lot of the ability to convince somebody to win over, to persuade. The 2D resolution is bringing more life to 2D resolution is bringing more life to numbers without context. That's a dangerous world. Do we really want to live in it? That numbers without context world is a dangerous world. Do we really want to live in it? If we think about how these things go in sports. We're at training camp. Another one of the cool things I did was I got to be at Giants training camp, and shout out to all of the new, all of the new followers over the last 24 hours who realized that I've been in this Giants thing now for a while. Like, welcome, Giants fans. I'm glad you're here. You could have come along earlier, but I'm glad you're here now. And so, like, the opportunity, right? The opportunities to be at Giants camp let me put eyes on people, right? Because you might see somebody around the league and you're like, oh, well, they shouldn't play them in the off season. I mean, or in the preseason. Well, here's the byproduct of that. If no one sees you, then no one knows what you can do, right? If no one sees you, no one knows what you can do. And if no one knows what you can do, then they can just use that as a matter of, oh, well, you didn't really do anything. Well, I never had an opportunity. That's not our fault. Well, yeah, it is, kind of. Well, it doesn't matter. You're still cut, right? Like, that's how it happens. That's how quick it is. That's how decisive it is. We can use and manipulate when we don't have to see things with our own eyes, when we don't have to be within its presence, when we don't have to work it really hard. Everybody can have an excuse of why not when they don't have to see you in person. But in person, they got to look at you, right? In person, they've got to look at you. See, what most people do when they give you an excuse, sports, in business, and in life, if they give it to you on paper or on computer, right? Now they're hoping for your own brain to add in the emotion. They're hoping for your own brain to paint the picture. Hey, I had a death in the family, right? Well, a death in the family is awful. And as I begin to process a death in the family, I immediately think immediate family. Mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister, daughter, son, period. When we say I had a death in the family, we normally, the people who's not in it, normally think about everything that's not associated with, we think about everybody associated with the immediate family. But in reality, I had a death in the family might be a cousin, an auntie, an uncle, right? So depending upon how close you were to that cousin, auntie, uncle, that might be handled differently. But when people are trying to be manipulative, when they say that to you in person, you can gauge their reaction. You can gauge what they look like. You can gauge how they feel. You can ask follow-up questions. And those follow-up questions, engaging how they look, how they feel, you can ask those questions, and then you can figure out, like, is this serious or is this not serious? Because it might not be that serious if it's a cousin. So when I look at that on paper and I read, I had a death. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be here. We had a death in the family. I just automatically assume immediate family. But you ever get in those situations where You hear that from somebody often, and then it starts to raise up a red flag. Well, dang, they had a death in the family again. Like, how many grandmas do they have? Right? Because you're thinking immediate family when it may not even be nearly immediate family. It's the power of being in the face. If I'm in front of somebody, then I know what I'm dealing with. It's a powerful thing, and we can't forget about it. We can't forget that being in front of people matters. When they say keep that same energy, that's exactly what they mean. Keep that same energy when we are here, as opposed to when you're typing with those Twitter fingers, or when you're on Instagram underneath people's posts, typing with those aggressive internet fingers. Keep that in mind when you want to convince people you're really passionate about something. Emails don't always work. A Zoom conference doesn't always get the point across. It's time that we get back to face-to-face interaction. And I, for one, plan on leading that movement. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. You do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. You know what the vibes are. Till next time. Peace.